first of all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the globe, and a very warm welcome to Agentic AI and Customer Engagement in 2025 and Beyond live webinar. We are thrilled to have you join us today for what promises to be an insightful and practical discussion. I am Priya on behalf of Mo Engage. I am delighted to kick off today's session. At Mo Engage, we dedicated to helping brands build deeper, more meaningful relationship with their customer through advanced engagement strategies. And today's we are diving deep into the topic that's the forefront of every marketer's mind: how to effectively leverage AI in customer engagement. Today we have incredible. Okay, before I go ahead, I would also uh, like to check few housekeeping things. I hope to all the attendees, my sound is the audio is clear and loud. It would be really great if attendees can give some reaction, maybe by thumbs up. Okay, cool. I see people are giving reactions. Great, great, great. Thank you so much. Also, the webinar being recorded and we'll share the recording post the webinar over to your emails. Also, please feel free to drop your question to the Q&A box. As for now, we have disabled the chat box, but attendees, I request everyone to please drop their questions in the Q&A, and we'll definitely try to take at the end of the session. Okay, now I proceed further. We have today incredible speakers lined up today for this session. First of all, I would like to introduce Mr. Vipul, Head of Digital Revenue at SBI Securities. Vipul brings a wealth of experience in driving digital growth and customer acquisition in the financial sector. Our second panelist, Mr. Gaurang Toshani, Head of Digital Marketing and E-Sales at Royal Sudram Insurance. Gaurang's expertise lies in crafting effective digital strategies and optimizing online sales. Our third panelist, Meekad Hashmi, engagement lead at the Indian Express, who will provide valuable insights into audience engagement from a leading media perspective. Finally, our moderator and the panel moderator for this panel discussion, Mr. Kshitij, Senior Director Solution Consulting at MoEngage. Kshitij will be setting the stage with the keynote presentation on agentic AI before diving into the panel discussion. Today we have a packed agenda and we are very excited to get started. So without further ado, I will hand over it to Kshitij for his keynote address. Kshitij, over to you. Thank you. I just stopped
Thank
my.
you. Thank you, Priya, for the lovely introduction. Mikat, Vipul, Garang, very nice to have you. And very nice to have around 140 people join in from all parts of the country. Good evening, all of you. I'll just start sharing my screen. Just give me a second. Can you all hear me well? Is my audio clear?
Yes,
Yes.
all good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Perfect. So let me get started with a quick introduction of MoEngage and some of the things we are, at the cusp of combining customer engagement and all the new fun stuff around generative AI, around all the agents we're building. Would love to give a quick 10-15 minute overview of how we are looking at the space. But just a quick introduction for those of you who might be here for the first time or have not heard enough about MoEngage. So we're a customer engagement platform. We started off in 2014, almost 800 employees globally, offices in 15 different locations across 4 continents. So if you see my screen, these are some of the top brands we work with, and you'll see like a great mix of brands. These are the largest brands you interact with on a daily basis. It could be something like a Swiggy in your delivery ecosystem. It could be Domino's with a great offline online presence. It could be in the finance space with the HDFC Pays app, where you power your payments, and the Beam application. We have Vipul from SBI Securities helping us with all security related transactions. So these are some of our largely customers in the Indian ecosystem. Um, Very quickly, so we've been in the market for over 10 years now. We celebrate our 11th anniversary next month. And very recently, Gartner, which is one of the leading analysts, has recognized MoEngage as a leader in the customer choice vendor for customer engagement. So we've been featuring on the Gartner quadrant for over 4 or 5 years now, but with a very high rating of recommendation. Um, Something we're really proud of to be recognized by our customers, and they're willing to recommend us to most of their peers in the ecosystem. Sorry. I'll quickly move forward and jump straight to the interesting stuff. So, scaling AI for marketers. What you see on your screen are the different capabilities which MoEngage provides as a customer engagement platform. And for us, our journey started actually back in 2016, where we started using a lot of different machine learning models, incorporating them into customer engagement. Right. So trying to identify if a user is interacting with your brand across multiple channels, then what is the right channel? It could be an email, notification, pop-ups, SMSs. Obviously, off late, WhatsApp has become an important channel. So what's the right channel? What is the right time a user is interacting with your brand? What is the right message to be sent in terms of A/B testing various copies, and also understanding the right set of cohort for these audiences. So, at a very high level, we started with these capabilities, implementing basic machine learning models. As time has progressed, we've also gotten deeper into these capabilities where we've tried to identify users' predictions. So, trying to predict a user's next action with predictive segments. So, if we're e-commerce, then trying to identify when the next transaction happens in a certain category. If we're in the FS vertical, then trying to understand how do we drive the next transaction of a, let's say, a policy purchase, or getting the user to transact and invest into securities. So that was our phase two from 2019 to, I would say, 2022, where we invested in the middle box where you see our machine learning based tools, trying to generate recommendations in terms of content that what is most suited to this user. So, I mean, Kshitij buying Nike shoes, what could go complement that purchase really well? Or Kshitij investing in the real estate industry on a securities platform. So, what could be the right recommendation to increase the number of transactions a user is performing? And then finally, as you'll all know, the last 2 years have been, the innovation has been like breakthrough with generative AI coming in. And that's where we launched our new Merlin AI based models. We started off with something at a very high level, trying to simplify a marketer's life in terms of generating the right sort of content, generating the right copy of a message. And over the last, sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Over the last 6 months, what we've been working on is becoming fully autonomous with our agents. So earlier, it's just about, let's say, designing a copy or automating or generating an image. But how do we power through the entire workflow? In case we're running a cart abandonment campaign, then how do I combine different channels? What's the right time? What's the best message? What's the best combination of all of these which we want to power a user experience with? And MoEngage being industry agnostic, we power these experiences through different industries which we saw in our customer base earlier. So we'll be diving deeper into some of these agents which we've launched. So some are natural language based, like the segment assist, the flow assist, and then some capabilities which we're working are going to be fully autonomous with our decisioning agent. So, just before we jump or dive deeper into this, a quick question for the audience. So you can see that on your screen. Would love to understand what is the number one challenge when it comes to adopting AI for customer engagement. Would love if all of you in the audience can share your inputs.
We'll wait for 1 minute. I think people are putting their answers. People are still answering it, so we'll wait for another few seconds. Okay, 55% of attendees has already voted. Cool, great to see the results. I'm just ending the poll and would like to show the results here. I hope the results are, you can see the results now. Cool, great.
Perfect. That's a really interesting top two insights. Probably in the next part of the conversation, we'll definitely speak about how we can address some of these from the different leaders we have on the panel. But let me quickly move forward to some of the key capabilities which we want to discuss about. Right. So, firstly, I wanted to start off with the Merlin copywriter. Uh, it's been almost 2 years since GPT-3 was announced, which was a very, very useful launch in terms of helping us design different copies. At MoEngage, we've had this capability live for over 18 months. And we've gone about things a little differently, where we've also tried to identify your brand's language, your brand style, and try to understand that how do we help you generate a copy which is relevant to your brand. So for example, with folks who are on the panel from very regulated industries, the tone which we choose in our messaging has to be very careful. Whereas all of us from a D2C background on the call can be sort of more free with the way we're experimenting and communicating with our users. So what we've tried to do is also understand, because MoEngage is indexing all of your different communications, that what are your keywords which result in higher communications, and then how can we generate a prompt using these keywords to drive higher impact. And that's where we've seen, you can see these numbers on the screen, that firstly, how much time are we saving in helping you generate this content, and the kind of improvement we've been able to generate with the Excite, which is one of the largest e-commerce retailers based in the Middle East. So like I said, this is something which all of us have probably been using in the last almost 2 years. But the innovation has been rapid, and we've come to a place where things have become agentic in nature, where we can start, you know, automating a lot of workflows entirely, right? So before we dive into certain capabilities of what and how MoEngage can help, I think it's important to define what truly an AI agent means. The term can be loosely used, so we just thought that what should be the definition from a customer engagement perspective, and what should the tasks an agent be able to solve for. So this is our definition, right? Agents are intelligent, they're autonomous in nature, they understand natural language. So whenever us marketers are giving our inputs, they should be able to understand that in the form of natural language, and leverage business context, which is already available in your customer engagement platform. This could be from past campaigns, this could be from your user behavior, the events they're performing. The combining natural language as a marketer's input, taking in the context of the business which is already available, to reason through some of these tasks in terms of creating workflows, and then creating and implementing these tasks on your behalf. And obviously within a set of guidelines or guardrails, which are also defined by you. We'll talk about how some of these things come to life, but in the subsequent slides as well, right? So starting with the brand LLM, I I believe, like I was mentioning earlier, each of our brands where we all come from might have different guidelines in terms of our color schemes, our language, and if I just go to ChatGPT today and write a prompt, maybe every time I need to give these prompts again and again, right? And this is just for copy generation. But your brand guidelines apply to probably everything you communicate with your customer, and this could be across channels. By that I mean the email template, the HTML, the the details of the HTML, CSS classes. It could be your notification templates. It could be the color of your action buttons. It could be your fonts. So making sure that the LLM is pre-populated with all of these guidelines so that everything is generated, which is very contextual to your brand. So the brand LLM is that central place where once you're using the MoEngage platform, you design these set of rules which are pre-configured, and then whenever you're running some sort of a strategic communication, be it any channel or any use case, these things are implemented on top of what you'd want to solve that use case for, right? So this obviously helps you save a lot of time, reduce your costs, and maintains consistency in the message we're trying to drive. The next very cool thing is the segment assist. And I think everyone right now, we've been trying to, obviously, over the last few years, trying to micro segment our user base, where there can be so many complex rules, a combination of different segments combining together. I think in a lot of our spaces, from a FS perspective, there are different tables hosting different type of data. We're trying to run these joins, work with our analytics teams, our insights teams to build some of these complex queries. And this takes a lot of time. And what we thought was that with the impact of some of these agents, can we use natural language to start personalizing or start writing these queries for marketers? Typically, marketers are not, I would say, and I don't want to sound offensive, but us marketers are not probably the best at writing code, but it has become so easy. So the idea is that how can I write a query in natural language? Because we have the business context in the sense that what is that exact cut of segment I'm looking for? But sometimes to write that query, the rule can be slightly complex. So what we have here is the ability to say that I can write a query in natural language. MoEngage will automatically transform that into the right format of the query, and then we can start taking actions on that. Here's a quick video overview. If you see, the query was written in natural language, and MoEngage automatically translates that to the language it understands. And marketers can save a lot of time instead of trying to play around and understand what is the query which we want to uh, execute. Right. Sticking to that theme of simplifying marketers' life, I think a lot of people spend most of their time on a customer engagement platform in defining these complex workflows. These workflows, of course, it's not just about combining multiple channels, but it's also about a lot of A/B testing. It's about applying the right sort of check. So, for example, push as a channel, of course, is way cheaper than an SMS or a WhatsApp. So we're applying these checks to understand that, okay, if a user does not click on a notification, then wait for a certain amount of time. And if the SMS is also not clicked on, then we move on to a WhatsApp. A very simple example, but this example could be spread across over hundreds of nodes to power use cases to maximize engagement or conversions. So sometimes the number of clicks you perform to achieve that final flow can be running into 50, 70, 80 clicks. And that's what we've observed from our product analytics, where a lot of time is spent in creating some of these workflows, right? And obviously, I mean, I've given a very basic example, but as you know, it's an iterative process. A lot of complex logic comes in. And of course, if you're starting off with a new platform, then there is also a learning curve in terms of understanding. And as much as it's said that it's drag and drop and, at a click of a button, but like I said, we've observed 50 to 70 clicks to get a flow activated. And that's where the flow assistant comes in. If you see my screen on the right bottom, you see the capability to type in a prompt and get and to start creating a flow. Just take a moment. I'd let everyone see how this works. So that's part one. A flow has been created using a very simple prompt, drive repeat purchases from customers who have purchased in the last 60 days, right? But what you can also do is chat with the interface and say, let's say a version one comes out. We can always give in our inputs and refine. So if you see the first version is created, I can have further inputs saying that, okay, 24 hours as a wait time seems too long. Can you reduce that? So you'll be able to see the flow or the model telling you that, okay, should we try with 12 hours, getting your inputs in, and then automatically applying those changes, right? So it's conversational in nature, understands natural language, and probably the idea is that we bring down those 70, 80 clicks to less than 10 clicks and thereby save time and all the effort which goes in. And last and finally, probably one of the most interesting things we're working on is our decisioning agent. The idea here is to make this agent fully autonomous and help take actions. I'll take a minute to explain how this would work. Right? So typically, how we're performing our campaigns is, and I'll take the example in commerce and retail. So we have different categories or different SKUs, different products. We have our customers, and what we're trying to do is cut across the right segment. So create these micro segments and say that, okay, for this segment, we should promote an offer from product from a category P1, but segment two is most likely to have an offer from product P2. And then we're also trying to identify which is the right channel for this particular user. It could be an email, it could be an SMS, and obviously complementing that with what's the right time to communicate, right? So if you see the four different aspects of creating this communication, there is a lot of A/B testing or trials which we're running, and there's a lot of effort involved in creating these segments, tying them back to different product categories, and then understanding the right channels or the right time. So these are the type of questions we're faced, right? With all customers in that particular segment prefer a product one. Is email actually the best channel for all customers in a particular segment? And do we know which content copy and incentive works for customers in segment B, right? So typically we're implementing these campaigns, seeing how they perform, tweaking our strategy, and moving forward. But with the idea with the decisioning agent is that instead of finding the best average fit for a segment, we truly find a true one-to-one fit for each individual. Now, how do we make this possible? So, taking the example of a single persona, let's say a user called Pooja, we have this information handy that, okay, what is the lifetime value of this user? How you What is the affinity to discounts for this particular user? So is this user mostly transacting using discounts? MoEngage will help you identify that. We're looking at the past transactional data that this user is most likely to transact when the discount is available. So that way we define a user's affinity. We define our goal, right? So Pooja has made um sorry. Yeah, Pooja has made three purchases. All of the times there has been a discount. Now I want to drive a repeat purchase. I also want to set guardrails in the sense that if I'm going to communicate, a very simple example for setting up a guardrail is if I have as a marketer three channels at my disposal, a push notification, an email, and a WhatsApp, then most certainly WhatsApp, as you'll all know, is the most expensive channel. So making sure the decisioning agent just doesn't focus on driving the repeat purchase, but keeps the fact that WhatsApp is also incurring more cost in mind. And also, I think we all as end users also understand that we do not want to be bombarded with too many communications. We just want to have that right mix of the right communication in on the right channel. So making sure the right frequency is set in terms of the number of communications. And then, like I was mentioning, we have different channels. We have different product categories. And then what we do is we create different offers. I'll take the example of commerce where we can have different offers across different categories. There could be something which is newly launched. There could be a sale that we're running. And probably there could be a user specific offer like a birthday or an anniversary, right? So if you see, all of these offers are cutting across different categories or products, and there are different types of offers. And Pooja as a user is applicable to receive any of these offers, right? So what is the best communication to send out to Pooja? Typically, what happens today is that depending on, sometimes if you're running a lot of these broadcast campaigns, then the first one in the day ends up reaching the user. But let's say that was a limited edition launch, then the campaign, which is scheduled for 5 p.m., might not go because of the frequency or governance rules you've set up. And but that might not be the most relevant for Pooja, even if she is a part of this particular segment. What might be most relevant for Pooja would be, let's say, as an example, the buy three get 10% off, considering her discount affinity is high. So, how do we take in all of these parameters, understand Pooja's persona, and deliver her the right message without communicating too many times with her? And that's the idea of the decisioning agent, where we understand all of these details and the algorithm combines all of these different contexts and is able to say that, okay, for Pooja, who's got a high discount affinity, the right message to send on email is a Black Friday alert to get 10% off on a certain jacket, right? So a very similar example for another user is a Siddharth, whereas in the case of Siddharth, whose discount affinity is low, he likes to spend a lot. The right channel to, or the right offer to send out to, firstly, to Siddharth is a limited edition launch. Siddharth is very savvy about the type of purchases, doesn't maybe purchase as frequently as Pooja, but then what is the right way to communicate is probably a notification on RCS communication where we have action buttons. So automating this entire workflow, making sure what is the best offer, A/B testing some of these capabilities. And this is where we're heading to, where we want to cut down the marketer's work in terms of running these communications and letting the decisioning agent take these calls on your behalf. So I'd love to take some more questions, but we'll probably run that towards the end. But that was a quick overview of some of the capabilities we're working on. Here's a quick poll, and we'll move to the next section. So we would love to understand if you would like to connect with their AI expert for a deeper discussion.
Will we wait for 1 or 2 seconds, people to fill in the poll? Yeah. Attendees are still answering the questions, so we'll wait for maybe 1 more second. It's good to see.
For all the attendees, is there any questions we'd... Okay, the Q&A is open.
Yes,
Perfect. I was just going to say we can put questions there. Yeah.
I guess now I can end the poll. Cool. Shutish, maybe we can start with the panel discussion further.
Perfect. I was also seeing the question. So from Prince Sonam, we'd love to answer some of these questions. Give us some time, and we'll start either answering, and we'd love to take some of these questions up with the panel as well.
Sure, sure. Yes.
But let's get started. So I'd like to invite our panelists, Vipul, Gaurang, Mikut. We'd love to see you.
Hey,
Hi,
hey,
Sanjay.
hey, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, guys. Let's get started. I think the first question had this answer. We were trying to understand some of the challenges, and I just want to start with that. And the first question was, how do we get started? And the biggest, or the most common answer, or the biggest challenge people are facing was a lack of strategy at organizations. And I just want to start the conversation there, where and probably Vipul, we can start with Vipul, where we'd love to understand that from your perspective, leading some of these marketing practices at SBI. What do you think is the practical first step people can think of to get started in their AI journey for customer engagement?
Fair. I mean, to be honest, I was also lost in this journey, and I kind of made a structured approach of how do you crack this. So first thing that I did was I made an extensive list of all the strategic objectives that I wanted to meet. I mean, be it improving customer experience, improving revenue, all of it. And when I did that, I got around 50 use cases that could be solved across the org. Because I mean, if I'm talking about improving customer experience, maybe a lower tat of activating derivatives for a customer will also count. So that will basically involve improving the process from an operations perspective. So, like this, when once the list was made, the next thing I did was I picked the best of them, the things that I feel that I felt will make the most impact. So again, you always have the 20-80 rule that you'll only have those 20% things which you feel will make 80% of the impact. Um, Once that is done, the next thing is, I mean, if you are a big organization and can kind of create your own models, I'll recommend that you have a single model for yourself. If not, the next thing you can do is maybe partner and collaborate with fintech or AI startups, any not just startups, any vendors that you have. So they basically specialize in AI and can basically help you figure out your journey. And one more thing to take care here is, I mean, don't try to address everything. Start small. So that's very critical for you to succeed. And yeah, invest in talent as well, because at the end, when once you have the AI agents coming in, you'll need smart people kind of putting guardrails and managing the entire AI story there.
That's very interesting in terms of, strategy, such a misused word, but, you really simplified by, bringing in the Pareto principle and saying that let's focus on that 20%, which makes the most impact. That's very helpful. Gaurang,
Yeah. So I totally agree with Vipul there. We need to obviously understand what we want to achieve. What is the output that we want to derive from deploying an AI agent, right? And basis that, then you figure out who can help you with that, and always go in phases. Be agile, move in phases. Do not do the entire end to end, the perfect output at day one. It's not going to be happening. It can't happen with AI. There's a learning involved there, right? So go slow, one step at a time, and that's how I would say to go forward.
Niket, from your perspective?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Vipul and Garang, for all those wonderful points. First, I would like to say that I'm from a publishing industry. So when ChatGPT was introduced, we were the first one to be offended because as a publisher, our whole idea and whole bread was that we write stories. Uh, we tell people what is to be done. We report. Now there is a chatbot that does scavenges and everything in less than a minute or so. So we were the first of the industry that was offended. But we have progressed from there, and we started thinking that hey, it's not just about writing. Let's look at the business use cases. One interesting thing that I noted from our conversation and whatever was presented that only 10% of the people said that budget cost was their concern. So a lot of frontier folks here in the conversation. So kudos to them. Now, as we talk about how do we start and what is the strategic planning? Now we need to understand every industry is totally different in terms of how they define the customers. For a news publishing organization, a customer is one who is reading the content. Now, even in that particular journey, we have someone who is a flyby user, followed by a logged in user, followed by a buying subscription kind of a user. For every kind of set of user, what we do is we follow 8 to 10 attributes, and it multiplies on every step. Now, we all, or most of the industry people, have the data sets. What we can do is we can start thinking, because again, we have, like for example, I'm an expert in the publishing industry. I would always think from that perspective. Vipul is from banking industry. He would think from that perspective. So AI can does start your basic idea thinking. So you can always ask them from your data dump that, where do I start before even going to the agentic flow and the decision making step. They would tell you, these data points would work there, because a human brain, of course, can compute a lot, but AI can tell you what are the best practices that have been followed there.
That's interesting. So, because I think being in the publishing industry, probably you're the early adopters also in terms of leveraging it, because when we look at the life cycle, the content development part, which we were also discussing in what I was mentioning in terms of generating content, that's the probably the first space which really got disrupted. And I think out of all of us, you'll have the most experience and been the early adopter. So that's actually what my next question is also around. Can you please help me understand more that across that life cycle of your customer engagement, when you started this journey, and obviously now we're talking about agentic, but would love to understand across the journey, where have you seen the most impact in terms of engaging with your customers?
Okay, sure. As I clearly said, that journalists or people in the publishing industry are very proud of what they write. So when it comes to content generation, of course, that was a no-go place. But this is how we totally integrated the process. So of course, we have our own system where we think that this headline would work best, but then there are best practices available on the market. So earlier, the capability for an editor was that we can only write one side of the headline. But now with AI kind of transforming it, we at least get 3 to 4 kind of headlines which can be used. Now that's the editorial side of it. But let's look from the user perspective. Uh, Content is more about how you consume it, right? So for example, if somebody is interested in Axiom mission, they want to probably understand and deep dive. Now the data, or which is powered by AI, tells us that X coming at in the morning has been reading the digest, has been consuming this kind of a content, has been going into that flow. Now, the decision makers, it's easiest for us to understand that how do we plug that. So, for example, if we have a subset or a data set which proves that we have a certain section of users that are interested in a particular topic, we can go there. Now, this is coming just from the publishing side of it, but for looking at the business side of it, how do we maximize the value out of it? Now, Indian Express is a very proud publisher and has a great legacy, and we are moving to the subscription side of it. While paying for news is a tough business to be in. This is where the agentic flow is trying to help us, as you showcase from the MoEngage Merlin platform, that how different segments can be created and then the flow can be made in. So in order to engage the customer, if an emailer is good or if a push notification is good or a certain time degree is there. One thing which I 100% not agree with the platform is that decision making, because human in the loop is the most important. Because let us decide, as there was a question here which said that if AI does not follow the brand guidelines, what do we do? So the decision making, so human in the loop is very important into the process.
Absolutely agree. I think the idea is that how how can we let humans focus on the most important critical tasks, and then what are the parts which can be automated? I think humans in some of these workflows will always be really important. But moving to so Vipul, same question. Just over the last, you've been a Mo Engage user for a very long time, and obviously you've been a part of this journey. So, where in terms of a user's life cycle do you think, and not just from a Mo Engage perspective, but overall, where do you see the most impact on customer engagement?
Okay. So I mean, I can at least maybe talk in the BFSI space where the number of customers, they're just too many, and I mean, you really have a small support team who's kind of helping. So the customer support aspect from an AI agent perspective is one of the critical thing, especially, I mean, when you know that 30 to 40% of the queries, they're very basic. They just tell, okay, what's my demat account number, or for that matter, what's a margin call, or some basic thing which is again non-PI data which can easily be shared and handled at the AI agent's end. Um, Along with that, we have seen that using Merlin AI for different copies for different cohorts of customers, it really helps. I mean, at the end, because we have an idea that we want to do this, hey, we want to push this offer, but the tonality, the final content which is going to be delivered to the customer, that really is the make or break thing, because every leg of the communication, the tonality, the creatives, and at the end, the segmentation, all of them have to be proper in order for you to succeed. So that's really, really helping us. And along with that, I believe where AI is really making a dent, it's basically in data analysis. So all the predictive analysis, it's going to a next level, because currently, I mean, when we worked with our BAU teams, we used to tell them, okay, we want to make a lookalike model, and these are the things you should take care of. So I used to feed them that, okay, it's take the trading behavior, take the holding behavior, take the demographics, and all of that. But at the end, how AI agents help is due to the autonomy, they are able to figure out all these things themselves. That which are the things which really should be taken in the model, so that they can drive high correlation and finally make segments which are I mean helpful to basically drive business. And along with that, I would say AI also helps a lot in just a second, predictive analytics. Mein, there's one more point that I wanted to make. Uh, so fair. Okay, maybe I'll cover that point later when I recall that.
Thanks, Vipul. So, Gaurav, would love to understand from your perspective also in terms of the areas, and obviously I think in your space, especially from an insurance pro point of view, the life cycle is probably much longer in terms of that first a user coming for the first time and then finally purchasing a policy with multiple input touch points or interactions with your business. So would love to understand in that entire life cycle of a user purchasing any type of a policy, where has artificial intelligence really helped you make significant impact?
Certainly. So, actually, if you look at car insurance, the, the period between discovery to buy or the purchase is not too long, about 3 to 4 days actually. So it's not that's not too long. But when it comes to health insurance, yes, it's a little longer
Right.
than that, because it needs a lot more consideration when it comes to health insurance, right? So uh, you know, I have been saying this recently that about 5 years, 10 years back, we used to talk that data is the king. Whoever has the access to data is the best person. He is the winner. I think that period has gone away now. It's about insight and insight-led engagement primarily, right? In general, which is what AI is able to support us today with that, right, on a real-time basis. Now, keeping that in mind, every engage. So it's more about. So when it comes to insurance, largely the engagement is just at two levels. One is when you buy the insurance. One is when you have to renew the policy, or also
Right.
when there's a claim in between. So probably three levels of engagement. Otherwise, there's nothing, right? Now, what AI can do or AI can help is, like, for example, when it comes to say health insurance, all of us use that to save ATD, right? So you need a tax certificate. Now, we know that last year in December, you had asked for the tax certificate via a call to the call center, right? Now, that data is obviously stored in the organization. Today we have it, but can we use that data of last 3 years, 4 years trend to understand exactly when you have asked? If every time is between say 15th, around 15th of December, then can we send you a message on during that time saying that you usually ask for a tax certificate on this date? Would you want us to send it to you? This leads to we always we talk about omni-channel, right? But AI, with this information, with this insight, it takes us to omni context, right? It is where it understands the context of communication when the customer needs what, and give that information. Plus, there's a standardization of communication that can happen over all the channels of communication that you have today. Now, this is what AI can do, right? And it is more and more important for a brand to communicate with the customers in the way and form that they want us to. It is no longer about an organization saying, I can do this. No, it's about
Hmm.
the customer and giving them what they want when they want, right? So that omni contextual communication is very much required, and which is what happens using AI now going forward.
Got it. So interesting. And I just, from the first question we asked, Gaurang, I think I want to address this question to you was, which I felt was relevant, was integration with systems, because Gaurang, you operate in a very regulated industry. So I think integration with systems can be due to a lot of reasons. Obviously, compatibility of the existing tech stack. That could be one, that how do we feed in data into a LLM. But I think another way of looking at it is that a lot of people who are also on the call today who are attending this come from regulated industries. And, bringing this context, which is available in the organization, might not be straightforward to start, getting the right sort of output from these models. So, just as a side question, would love to understand from you, how are you tackling that currently?
So, from an infosec perspective, one thing we look at is the very basic stuff actually when you look at it, but it's very critical. Is the data residing in the country? Yes, if that is true. And then um, there are some guardrails which needs to be put in place. Right? For example, I tell you, we were recently exploring a solution for our uh, call center, QCing all the calls, right? You do a quality check of the calls. If you want to do 100%, AI can help you do that today, right? So when you won't need to do that, so you one need to push the voice recording to the tool. Moment it transcribes the voice recording, it deletes within 40 seconds, 45 seconds, within a minute basically, it deletes the voice, the call recording. So that one thing is sorted for me, right, from a regulatory perspective. Second, in the transcript, all the PII information is masked, right? So that is sorted for
Hmm,
me. So we need to put this guardrails when it comes to AI, or when it comes to, I mean, AI primarily, yes, because it's a very new animal for us, right? And we need to put those guardrails in between, in place, so that it's safer for us, right? Or else the impact can be huge, which we cannot even fathom today.
absolutely. I think that's really helpful. I wanted to move to a more fun topic, and I think I, this is a thing we can have a conversation about for a very long time, which is something around the future. So, what I wanted to talk to all of you all about was, in the future, how can AI transform customer engagement? But I'll not leave that future open-ended, because then the realm of possibility is infinite. But when I think about the future, and what we wanted to understand was, in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months, where do you see things improving in terms of customer engagement? And obviously, it could be in terms of improving the user experience. It could be in terms of saving the time for the teams. It could be in terms of improving the revenue generation. So, just from your perspective, and Gaurang, we'd love to start again with you. Um, that how is this process going to become easier? Probably when I think about purchasing insurance, sorry, no offense, but maybe I avoid the 4 or 5 different calls I have. Can I get the best priced policy, and I can get claims happening faster and at the touch of a button? I'm just thinking what goes into the back end and how a leader from that ecosystem thinks.
Um, if you want to say probably in future. So, today while we talk about engagement is about a context, or it's about uh, understanding what your needs are and giving it to you, or not giving it to you but presenting it to you actually, right? In my view, using AI in next 5 years, 10 years down the line, it will be more of recommendation. It's still there. We're already moving to that level, but by then, next 5 years, 10 years, the recommendation will be so strong, right? Because AI will know you. Today, ChatGPT has started saving your information, right? You don't. I mean, ChatGPT says, "Hi, Gaurang today." Right? ChatGPT knows where I worked today, or over a period of last 6 months, 8 months, or last 2 months probably since they started saving everything. Uh, it knows me now much better than me. It knows me the kind of the way I ask questions. With time, over a bit of time, uh, ChatGPT of the world are going to know you so better, so in so much in depth. It will tell you, saying, Gaurang, this is what you should buy, and I will buy because I consider that as very neutral recommendation. I do not see it as a brand pushing me information, but a ChatGPT, my assistant, giving me that information. So engagement will be at a recommendation level, but it will not be, or it to a certain extent may be influenced by a brand, but not entirely, right? Because the fitment of a product will be done by AI and not by a seller. Because if I'm selling you something, I will I will talk to you about the features which I think that you need to know, right? But AI will give you a very neutral view saying that this is what you should take. And I'm sure the way I understand it at this current point, people will look at recommendation, just move forward. Yeah.
Interesting. So, Mikat, on that topic or that thought of future and recommendations, I believe in your ecosystem, recommendations have played a critical role in the last few
Absolutely.
years now, I would say, right? I mean, the industry is built probably now. I think everywhere we consume content, be it on the Indian Express application, I'll be more general, like a lot of us use platforms like Instagram, Facebook. Everything is built on top of, recommendations. So from your perspective, also would love to understand what happens next and how do you see customer engagement evolving over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months?
Okay. Kshitij, I would like to steer the conversation in two directions. So the first one, I will be very specific and very straightforward. So as our assumption is that a millennial is the one that has the highest purchasing power. As of now, we know that they have the spends, they have some money that they can spend even on news besides their own personal consumption. So that's the area we are tapping in. But we should know that Gen Z is already part of the workforce and they have also started getting their salaries and they're probably more ready in terms of investing and getting it. And then the Gen Alpha, which will be totally a game changer. So understanding that the messaging and information, how do we change it? Now, a person who has been trained in writing news for the last 20 years, they have been writing a headline or writing a content in that direction. Now, how AI would be helping or how AI has helped in understand that, maybe the content is absolutely fine, but your social post can be this. And we can totally automate that process. So that steers the conversation in understanding what kind of audience will be there. Then the second is the second part where I want to steer is a little bit negative. So Gartner yesterday published a report where it said that uh, in 2027, which is not very far away from here, 40% of the agentic forces will be obsolete due to costs. Now, this is where we really have to think that if by one estimation, the costs will go up because of the competition and everything. What are we really targeting for, and what kind of agent forces do we create? So, if I have to say that, I would say go and think like from a Moore's law perspective. I know it's for a chip industry, but think that the technology will become cheaper, but don't fall behind the race. Because if you wait that, let's just say that a particular XYZ AI platform, let's just say, since OpenAI is the biggest one, currently is giving me API kind of capabilities at this particular rate, and it's too much for me to understand and rely on. Uh, don't be that person. Try it, maybe in bits and pieces. Identify which sections you want to. So one is where you need to definitely understand what kind of messaging is there. The second is the budgetary allocation and everything. So yeah.
Something to think a little more about. Interest. Thanks for that, Mika. Vipul, any thoughts?
Yes. So, like Moengage is currently creating a lot of AI generated, would say, product hacks, which will really help a marketer. I believe the usage of AI or the solution will be much more deeper. And what I mean by that is, we will just write a prompt that, hey, I want to do a campaign to maybe reactivate users who didn't trade for 6 months by giving them an offer of for a brokerage reversal. And uh, currently, while you have all of that in parts, I mean, the AI will kind of do everything. It will kind of do the micro segmenting on its own. Um, so now, currently, when we think about segmenting, I mean, how me and my team does it, we try to like analyze behavior of clients and then segment basis that. So it's basis our thought. That will completely shift, and I mean, the AI will kind of create all the micro segments, will understand and create various, I would say, content, and finally deliver it. And it will also help in the multilingual problem that many brands are currently facing, because if you really want to drive business from tier 3 and below, you have to be multilingual. That's one part of the AI story. And one more piece, which I feel will really happen, will be deeper AI usage across various teams. So, I mean, currently I can see that IT team is using that for coding, obviously not for the complex piece, but at least the basic piece, HTML creation or minor code edits in a small code. That is like 100% automated as of now. Um, Along with that, product management will use it. They'll try to figure out what are the different behaviors that's happening, because currently we have a lot of data which is there, right? Anyone using Moengage or any data analytics platform, they'll have a lot of data of users. So the identification of trends will be much more faster, because currently it everything is like, okay, my revenue numbers are going down, then I dig deep, okay, it's going down from this app version, okay, there's some problem in this app version. So all of that will be automatically done by the AI agent, and finally it will come to us. And finally those teams where, I mean, people don't think, when they think of AI, they normally think of business, they think of customer support, they think of coding and all, but there are many other teams where AI can help. It's accounting, it's HR, and the list is endless.
Right.
Um, so I believe usage there will also start increasing as you see success in maybe when an organization sees success in few of the use cases, they'll kind of try to go deeper into that.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Vipul. I see there's a lot of questions from the audience. Just take a minute to go through these questions. So I'm just doing a quick check with Priya.
Hi Kshitij, I know, and thank you first of all, Vipul, Gorang, and Mikat and Kshitij for the valuable, incredible insights. I am sure our audience has found your perspective highly valuable, and you can see the times is already we are like it's over. But I would like if we can take maybe a few questions from the attendees who have asked these questions, maybe one or two, if that's okay.
Uh,
Certainly.
Shall I just because I was just skimming through the question list, a lot of people are asking about agent capabilities and everything. I would just like to address that really quickly.
Yes.
Before you start making any decisions about making AI agent and automation, why don't you do a practical for yourself? Like, why don't you sync your calendar through Notion or through Claude and let develop that agent yourself? Do not rely on any tech team. Do your own discovery. Let's see, because most of our calendars are business synced. I know that there will be a lot of stakeholders where certain replies will not make sense. So train your own agent and let that do a work for a week. So let's just say if you have done it through Claude or if you have done through Notion, this will give you a very clear idea that how does an AI agent work. Now, AI agent is so automation has always been there. As people might know that IBA technology has been there in banking system forever. How does AI change it? So 11 Labs gives you a synthesized word which sounds like human. Now, if a person is an irate customer and is yelling at the customer, now this person or this voice, synthesized voice, understands and knows how to change the intonation and inflection. That's how AI agents are helping out. So AI agents are nothing. It's just that the certain tasks have to be done in a certain direction. Now the automation is helping and doing it in a different kind of a scale. So before you want to make a business decision, I would say go and play with it first. Hey, it's there's nothing lost, right? So once you have a better grasp, and if you are coming from a non-technical background, it would be really fun. So once you know that you can automate your calendar, then you know that in what kind of directions that we can go towards.
Yep. Thanks for that, Mikat. Actually, there's a lot of questions around a similar theme where, for example, there's a question that how long does it take for, AI to truly feel aligned with your data and context? If it's on the same page as you, there are more and more questions around similar lines that how precise is the decisioning going to be and so on. And I think the fundamentals, I'll just take that question because there are three, four questions around this. And Mikat, you've put it really well. I just want to add to what you said is I think the core of marketing and remains largely the same. It's a lot about experimentation. So today, a new decisioning agent coming in, helping you decide what should be communicated, may or there's always a learning curve, and it's all about experimentation, right? So it's difficult for us to still say, with any sort of confidence that a certain agent can do a job better or not. But it's always about also a lot of experimentation because each agent or each model can also be fine-tuned in so many different directions. So another question on similar lines is how many different agents do, as a rule of thumb, which we should have inside the organization. And again, I'll piggyback on Mikat's answer where we need to firstly, and this question was there earlier as well. We need to identify the need first. That where can we really solve problems? Where can we really automate workflows? And this will help us decide. And we should truly first try doing some of these things at our end, implementing some of these workflows on our end, be it through an OpenAI or sorry, a Chat GPT or a Claude. And this can be for different use cases, but that will give us a good answer where automating some of these things might make more sense. I'm looking at a few questions which are around the presentation use cases. We have a lot of, like a ton of material available. We will definitely share that post this call with all of you. Um,
Chethan, I would like to add on that
yes,
point.
please.
Uh, so, um, where people are confused that do they really, if they use AI agents and if something goes wrong, what will happen? So, firstly, what I would recommend is uh, split what you want to do into two parts. One is something, if it goes wrong, it will give you a high penalty, or I mean, it will be something regulatory or something like that. Then that's something you can maybe think of avoiding or maybe getting into late. And if there's something which, if goes wrong, it will not make a significant impact, you can directly start using AI agent for that. Because at the end, I can tell you for sure, as the AI ecosystem is growing, so when you had GPT-3, then 3.54, now the accuracy of an AI agent, AI bot, it's increasing phenomenally. So I would say like it's somewhere close to 85-95% for some of our use cases, especially on the customer care side, where it's all about delivering some basic information to the customer in the language that he or she prefers. So start with those
Correct.
use cases and then maybe move to the other ones where you feel there might be some hiccup in future.
Spot on. Thank you so much for that, Vipul.
I think with that we can end this webinar, and thank you speakers for that, forward-looking perspective, and a big thank you to you all for sharing your expertise, insights so generously today, and your contribution definitely have made this session a wonderful session, definitely. And we hope we leave this session today with the practical takeaways and a clear understanding of how to leverage AI deeper in customer engagement. And also, on behalf of Mo Engage, I wanted to extend a sincere gratitude to our incredible, of course, panelists, Vipul Sharma, Gorang Toshani, and Mikat Hashmi, and of course to our moderator and keynote speaker, Shitesh Sharma. Thank you for all your valuable time and insights. And of course, to you, thank you to our audience, and for we truly appreciate your participation and for asking these valuable questions. Thank you. So, and also we'll send this webinar recording post this event along with relevant sources to the following emails up in upcoming days. Thank you once again for being with us, and I wish you a wonderful rest of the day ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you, speakers.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Bye.
Vipul. Thanks.
Bye.